from the BBC World Service in association with ABC and All India Radio. This is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in London, although it's a pretty sobering time to be in Europe at the moment, what with everything going on in Ukraine. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, England's women managed to come out of their isolation early in New Zealand in preparation of the Women's World Cup, and England's men have got a tour of the West Indies to look forward to, where it's certainly going to be a lot warmer than the grey skies and pouring rain that's happening in London at the moment.
Hello, Ali. And Charu, Jim Maxwell for the ABC in Sydney. Well, you wouldn't want to be here. I mean, Sydney's living up to its reputation as one of the wettest, certainly cricket cities in the world. It's been raining for most of the week. We've had more rain than usual for the month. And somehow New South Wales were able to get a Shield game in against Tasmania and win. And Trent Copeland took his 400th first-class wicket. But the Aussies are about to go to Pakistan, and hopefully the rain will stop. But not in a hurry, unfortunately, as we creep into March and the excitement awaits us in New Zealand, as Ali mentioned.
Well, hello, Ali and Jim. This is Charu Sharma once again for All India Radio. I am in Bangalore, back from our coffee plantation, but I'm not at home. I'm at the fabulous Sheraton Hotel in Whitefield, one of the suburbs, where the convention centre has been turned into our Kabaddi court. And it is the final weekend of Season 8 of the Pro Kabaddi League. So I've been brought in for a few meetings prior to the final. There tends to be another, or looks to be another bumper season, as it were. We'll see how it all ends. But great to be back on Stumped. And of course, cricket-wise, Sri Lanka are now in India. It's non-stop action back home, where India, as always, continue to be tigers.
The cricket never stops, does it? First on the programme today, though, we're going to start in a part of the world that's at the centre of global attention for reasons other than cricket, because at the time of recording, Russian forces have launched a major military assault on Ukraine, with reports of missile strikes and explosions in major cities. It's a time of massive concern and uncertainty for the people who live in Ukraine, with world leaders trying to ensure the safety of the country and its citizens. Now, Ukraine isn't known as a cricketing hotbed, but the game has been growing there in recent years, and the chief executive of the Ukrainian Cricket Federation, Kobus Olivier, has been spearheading Ukraine's drive to become an associate member of the International Cricket Council, which provides funding for the development of the game. And we can speak to Kobus from Kiev. Kobus, welcome to Stumped. I mean, I'm sure cricket is further away from your mind at the moment than many more immediate matters. First of all, tell us where you are and what's happening where you are.
Hi, Alison. Good morning. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Yes, I'm in Kiev. I'm in one of the suburbs here. I'm the big main road going straight into Kiev. About 15 minutes in the car. It's just outside my window. And I'm about 15 minutes out of the city centre, Kreshchatyk, the main road, and Maidan Square. So it's been very real here. So I'm in a building complex on the 7th floor with my 4 dogs here in the apartment. So it all started this morning at about 4 o'clock. The reality, it's really happening.
Wow. What did you experience at that time?
I usually walk my dogs at about 5, and for some reason, obviously a bit nervous about what we're hearing. It's been building up for the past couple of weeks. So I took my dogs out this morning at 4 o'clock, and we were walking outside, and I heard about 18 huge explosions, like it was right next to me. So I knew immediately what was happening. I rushed into the apartment, brought my dogs in, and I then put the sound off. I'm watching as things are developing. So I heard they bombed apparently military bases just around Kiev and also Borispol Airport. So yeah, that was the blast we heard. And as I'm sitting here, they say the tanks are coming in. There's video footage from Belarus, which is only 2 hours away from Kiev. The ground troops are coming in with the tanks. So it's quite it's for real. The past week or so, the Ukrainians, nobody believed it was going to happen. They thought it can never really happen, maybe Donbass and Crimea. So, I mean, it was quite funny. Last night I was on the tube. People were walking around Kreshchatyk with coffees, sitting at street cafes. And this morning you just see chaos. The street outside, the lane going outside of Kiev has been absolutely jammed. Cars are not moving. People are trying to get out of Kiev now in their cars because the airports are obviously all been bombed.
I can hear from your accent, obviously, Kobus, that you're not Ukrainian native.
Yeah.
Tell us, first of all, how you have become involved in Ukraine cricket. And I mean, obviously, you're talking to us at the moment. Communications seem okay. Have you been in touch with others from the cricket fraternity this morning?
Yes, I spoke to our president, Mr. Deep Singh. He's unfortunately in one of the hotbeds. There's a lot of military bases based in Kharkiv. They've apparently been under heavy fire. He's got about 10,000 Indian students there in hostels, and he's been assisting them. They were supposed to fly out this morning to be evacuated. That's our cricketers. They were supposed to fly out this morning back to India. Unfortunately, that's not happening. So he's helping them to stay in the hostels and not go out. But he phoned me to check if I'm okay. So yes, we are in contact with each other. I've heard from them, yes. And then about South Africa, yes, I arrived here actually by accident, by default. I was in about 8 years ago, 2014, I became CEO of Cricket Kenya. So I was in Nairobi for a year. We had real problems with Kenyan cricket. That's another story with the board. It's still ongoing. I then moved down to Dubai, where I started 2 cricket academies, my own academies, one with Ashwin, the cricketer, and I started one originally with Gary Kirsten. I ended up focusing on the one with Ashwin. I was there for about 4 years, and then I came to Kiev on holiday. And I thought, I've done cricket since my whole life. I was director of cricket at UCT, University of Cape Town. I played professional cricket for 15 years. I thought I need a break, and it was quite refreshing that there's no cricket in Kiev that I knew of at the time. I started a cricket program for the Ukrainian kids in Ukrainian schools here. So for me to leave Kiev now, I just can't do it. I'm stuck. Cricket is keeping me here, and I can't turn my back on this. I can't walk away from this.
Yeah, you're the Pied Piper of cricket there. There's no doubt about that from what you've been telling us. So internationally, where can you take the game for Ukraine, you think?
We've been going through the process. Ukraine, the Cricket Federation, Mr. Deep Singh and his board, has been trying since 2001. They've been playing cricket. They tried very hard since 2008. They've been working closely with the regional office of the ICC, Andy Wright, in London, the European office, to become an associate member. Their senior cricket tick all the boxes, the criteria. They've got fantastic leagues going. They play matches, tournaments. Their shortcoming was they had no junior cricket development. There was no junior coaching. I've been coaching all my life. So I came in and I started that junior program with Ukrainian kids, which now tick the box for junior cricket development, having programs in schools, developing cricket at grassroots level for Ukrainians in schools. So we've now gone through the process. We've submitted our final documents. The deadline was 31st of December to become an associate member. Our application, we've submitted all the documents to the European office, to Andy Wright at Lords. He's now forwarded it to the ICC in Dubai, and in July, at the next meeting, the membership committee will look at our application. We can't preempt it. There's no guarantees. The decision will be made there. But we've been guided, absolutely taken by the hand, and step for step, Andy Wright and his team has guided us. The European ICC office, he's taken us. We've had probably 20 Skype meetings, almost monthly, sometimes twice a week, advise us how to meet the criteria, what we still need. And also our women's cricket now, we're really pushing cricket for the girls in Ukraine. We just about a month ago, we got a lady that's very involved in sport in the schools, Ukrainian, onto our board as a ladies cricket representative. So what we're hoping for, to answer your question, is if everything goes well, that we become an associate member of the ICC in July, and then, we have international T20 status. It will help us a lot in Ukraine. We then sort of official member of the world governing body. We will go into schools. We'll be working very closely with the Ukrainian Department of Sport.
Kobus, hi, this is Charu Sharma from Bangalore.
Hello.
I'm surprised that the ICC hasn't appointed you as their ambassador at large, global ambassador for the sport. They should. Now, with what's going on between Russia and Ukraine, how concerned are you that all this progress that you and others have made over the last, say, 2 decades might just be set back to a large degree?
Well, I follow all cricket. I'm always on Cricket Info. And I followed the Afghanistan story very closely. And I'm not saying we're in Afghanistan yet. In Kiev, we're probably a lot better off. But it is scary and a lot can change. But I do believe where we now, from what I hear, and I don't want to go into politics, it's not my field, but apparently Vladimir Putin said it repeatedly. We can't believe everything he says probably, but he said that they're not going to, Ukraine will not become a part of Russia. We will still be Ukraine. He'll put, if he topples the government, which I think what this is all about, he'll put a pro-Russian government in place. So cricket will still continue. The Ukrainian football team will still play as the Ukrainian football team. And I think at this stage, these 10 schools where we've got cricket, and literally hundreds of kids has gone through these camps with me, I think it's going to be impossible to stop Ukrainian kids now from playing cricket. They absolutely love the game. So I believe, eventually when this is over, life will carry on. Kids will go to school and the cricket programs, they will do sport PE, and cricket is very much now a part of the physical education curriculum.
You're doing fantastic work, Kobus. The most important thing for us to say to finish with is to stay safe and hope that this can pass for you and those who you're close to in Ukraine. And yeah, certainly hearing your testimony at the start, it is very scary times, but we really appreciate you coming on Stumped amidst everything going on to tell us about cricket in Ukraine. So good luck going forwards, and thanks for sharing
Thank you very much, Alison. An absolute pleasure to meet all of you. And thank you for this opportunity to showcase Ukrainian cricket. It's fantastic for us. Really nice to meet you all.
That is Kobus Olivier, Chief Executive of the Ukraine Cricket Federation.
From the BBC World Service, this is Stumped on ABC and All India Radio.
Next on Stumped, India have a new Test cricket captain. Rohit Sharma is the man who's been given the task of taking over from India's most successful Test captain, Virat Kohli. He's already their ODI and T20 captain, with Chairman of Selectors Chetan Sharma describing him as the number one cricketer of our country. Charu, first of all, how did that comment go down? And is it the right appointment, in your opinion?
Well, it looks like there are only Sharmas in India, from Chetan to Rohit to Charu. So there's been no adverse comment for sure, because, he's been there for a very long time. He's played plenty of starring roles in white ball cricket for sure. And of course, for me, I've always maintained this. He is the finest cricketer in India in terms of classic style as well. It's just that, at times, because of white ball cricket, you have to play across the line. And he too fell into that trap for a while and was inconsistent in his test match performances. But nobody will object to the fact that he is probably the most consistent star at this point of time. He has the experience. There's been no objection to the appointment as well. There's just some thought to the future. And obviously, Rohit being 34, as a batsman who doesn't feel in the outfield or slip and slide and tumble very often, maybe he'll last another 3 or 4 years at his level, which is a very high level. Or at times, of course, you start losing the hand-eye coordination, and sometimes careers end a little early. I, of course, don't wish that for him. But I think he's a very popular, very acceptable captain, and not in the least because he's led the IPL team to so much success, the Mumbai Indians. So that is also a factor where people believe that he does have some kind of a Midas touch. He's come in from extremely pressure-laden situations and taken the team to victory. And individually, his form is still very good, if not terrific, because he's still full of runs at the top, where it's usually very difficult, particularly in India, of course, where he knows the pitches so well. So all around, this is a very acceptable, happy situation for India. And this transition from Virat Kohli and all his global stardom to Rohit Sharma, who's a little more subdued, certainly a different character, might even do Indian cricket some good, although that really depends on the team from day to day and against who they're playing and whether they're playing at home.
I mean, there's been some pretty big calls, Charu, hasn't there, ahead of the Test series with Sri Lanka. And one of them is the absence of the backup wicketkeeper, Wriddhiman Saha. He's not in the squad, claims that he's been told that he won't be considered for selection again, and reckons he's indirectly been told to consider retirement. But this wasn't where the story ended, though, because there was a really strange circumstance. We saw Saha post screenshots on Twitter of a WhatsApp conversation with someone who he described as a so-called respected journalist. And that journalist apparently asked Saha for an interview, but when he didn't respond, the journalist replied with pretty unsavouring, threatening language. And Saha then sort of outed this journalist on social media. It was a very sort of odd exchange. What did you make of it all?
Well, it's certainly very odd. And I don't think this so-called respected senior journalist expected to be outed by Ridhiman Saha, because that's just how it's been so far. But, the relationship between journalists, sports journalists, cricket journalists and players does go through the cycle where a lot of the senior journalists feel that they are partially responsible for the making of a cricketer or a star by saying that, at that stage when you were young, we're the ones who promoted you and gave you plenty of column centimeters in the old days, these days, whatever they call it in digital space. And then, of course, the player develops and later becomes a star. Now, as a star is usually, there's so much pressure, media pressure and otherwise, and this relationship suffers a bit because they can't spare the same amount of time to senior journalists who feel that they've been responsible for helping someone's career. So this seems quite in the same pattern, this cycle that I've just talked about, where the senior journalists obviously got a little miffed, saying that, well, if I was partially responsible for ensuring that you played for India for quite a while, why is it that you can't respond to me now? So it is unsavory, yes, but I must quickly utilize the opportunity, Alison, to compliment Rahul Dravid, because if you remember, I kept talking about communication, conversation between players and coaches and, of course, the board as well, or the selectors, where they prepare people for an exit or for not being considered, rather than just saying, well, you're not in there and you read about it in the newspapers. So to that extent, I'm glad Rahul started off conversing, talking to people, communicating about the fact that they may not be available for, or they may not be considered for selection in the future because of one reason or the other. It's never easy for a player. And it's, Ridhiman Saha is obviously, upset, miffed. And then this journalist thing was just a sort of last nail in the coffin, as it were.
Who would have thought journalists might have egos, hey? It never happens. Never happens. The players are the stars. We are merely the conduits of the information. Well, that was all we've got time for on Stumped this week here on All India Radio. Don't forget you can follow us on Twitter. We're at BBCWS Sport and use the hashtag BBC Stumped. And you can check us out on YouTube as well. Just search for the BBC World Services YouTube channel. So my thanks to Charu Sharma and Jim Maxwell, and to you for listening. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Stumped is a BBC sport production for the BBC World Service in association with the Australian Broadcasting Corporation and All India Radio.